does he have to do with this?
Let anything, you know what I'm talking about. Let anything. Nah, I don't have to say it right now. Don't worry about it. I don't got to say it up here. Let anything happen. And I'm going to show you and him. Bet.
In shape, 145.
Yeah.
In shape. You know what I mean? So this is different from a Crawford coming up to 168, but we know his walk around weight is probably 170, 180.
The fight that I couldn't believe, that was too insane and honestly just baffling to think would be a real fight in 2025, reminds you that combat sports are the craziest sports on the planet.
Chaos erupted at the press conference for the Gervonta Davis versus Jake Paul fight, turning routine promotion into a heated showdown. Davis lost his cool after being questioned about choosing Paul over higher-ranked opponents. Paul fired back, taunting Davis over personal controversies and mocking his background, escalating tensions until moderators stepped in to restore order.
And truly, when people run back this press conference, all the shit talk, all the fun, they're going to be like, wow, this kid really is doing something monumental in the sport, and he's actually an insane boxer. And I'm going to show that this guy who's been doing it his whole life has been doing it wrong his whole life.
What'd you say, Tank?
He said he's going to outbox me. Whoop-de-doo.
The one thing, when you have a fight of this magnitude, especially with Jake, because his appeal has been global. For you, Tank, do you think this is one of those fights where now all of a sudden you can show your boxing skills on a global scale to maybe people who weren't interested in boxing? All of a sudden they say, well, who is this guy?
Yeah, it's actually like, you know, now that I'm looking at it now, it's just like, I don't know.
From the start, the exchange was anything but friendly. Standing at 6'1", Jake Paul towered over the 5'5" Gervonta Davis, a clear display of the size gap fueling pre-fight debates. Paul used it as ammunition, boasting that his reach and power would keep Davis out of range. But Davis, a proven lightweight champion, dismissed the talk, vowing that his speed and precision would make the size difference meaningless once the fight began. A major flashpoint in the buildup has been the massive size difference between the two fighters. Many analysts and media voices have called the matchup unfair or even a spectacle rather than a contest. Davis, an undefeated lightweight champion, faces a social media star-turned-boxer who naturally fights at much heavier weights. Labeled an exhibition instead of a professional title bout, the fight status has only fueled debate about its legitimacy.
But yeah, that was that. This time, Jake Paul is to take on Tank Davis. Tank Davis, he was recently in the news for being arrested for a domestic violence incident involving one of his kids' mother. He was alleged to have slapped her about the place. The charges were later dropped, to be fair to him. But yeah, that was when he was last in the news. What is interesting is just a couple of months ago, Tank Davis was saying openly that he'd lost his passion for boxing and that he wanted time away from the sport. There was speculation that he might even retire as he was experiencing extreme mental fatigue from boxing, depression, and there were mental health concerns over him. However, I guess the opportunity to earn a truck full of money, fighting a completely worthless exhibition fight against Jake Paul was enough to make him change his mind about boxing. Funny that, isn't it? But you know what? I'm not even going to waste your time or mine critiquing this utter nonsense. Suffice to say that this so-called fight we're talking about is an exhibition, and it pits Jake Paul, who is a cruiserweight, by the way, weighs in excess of 200 pounds, and Tank Davis, who is, he was the WBA lightweight champion, who weighs in at about 135 pounds when he fights. So that's a disparity of some 65 pounds. In old money, that's about 4.5 stone. There's also a significant difference in height. Jake Paul is roughly, 6'1", 2. Gervonta Davis is 5'5" at best. So, there's a height disparity there of some 8 inches. And once again, this is Jake Paul showing total disrespect to boxing, in my opinion. Once again, continued to pimp out the sport for his own financial ends. And worse still, the powers that be in boxing allowing him to get away with it and facilitating this utter bullshit. And meanwhile, what's even worse about this is that meanwhile, the WBA lightweight title that Tank Davis should be defending against Lamont Roach in a rematch.
It's no secret that Jake Paul thrives on drama and theatrics, and this press conference was clearly designed for viral moments. From clown props to shoving and personal jabs, every exchange added to the chaos, making it feel more like a reality show than a boxing event. Reports described the scene as loud, chaotic, and full of spectacle, but ultimately offering more entertainment than substance.
That Jake will kind of bounce in between doing these entertainment fights and then, trying to push toward his goal of ingraining himself in the sport of boxing, and kind of does both of them. So it's kind of a weird place to be, because he wants the respect of the boxing fans and the boxing hierarchy and hardcore boxing people, but at the same time, he'll gain some of that and then lose some of it. It's like a seesaw of his fights. Like one fight, and be like, okay, that's a real fight, or that's a real fighter. And he'll go and he'll win the fight. Julio Cesar Chavez, real fighter, maybe past his prime, whatever, but Jake goes and wins that fight pretty easily, and then gets a lot of respect, gets a lot of the boxing hardcore love. And you have these talks about him fighting Anthony Joshua, and that was going to get even more respect. More people were like, that's fucking crazy. What are you doing? Myself included. That seemed like a massive risk, but a lot of people were like, okay, fair play. Anthony Joshua, that's a real heavyweight. Jake wants to fight him. He's a psycho, but fair play. And then you announce this one, and it's like, well, that's the same thing people have been saying about Jake for years, so it's a weird spot to be in for him for sure. But I talked about this not being the first choice, and I don't think it was, because Coppinger reports next that talks for Jake Paul to face Anthony Joshua collapsed over network issues. Now, we had all heard the talks, and they were pretty public, from Eddie Hearn, from Jake. Nakisa Badarian, Jake's manager, was over in the UK on, I think, Sky Sports, talking about the fight and saying how it was a real...
Keith Thurman highlighted an interesting irony. Davis's critics are actually helping him. The same people who constantly bash his performances never miss his fights. Thurman noted that even negative attention keeps Davis in the spotlight, boosting his visibility and relevance. In trying to tear him down, they only make his name bigger.
With Tank, first off, don't watch Tank. Don't do it. You know what I'm saying? You support it, then what you doing? You can't not support and support at the same time, right? So if you're a boxing purist, then this fight with Roach is really more for you. It's going to be more up your alley, If you just like all entertainment, all fights, all hypes, all everything, then you're going to want to tune in to the Tank and Paul show there, because that's all for entertainment. What is it? For entertainment purposes only, right? It's just say like somewhere in the small print of the promotion. For entertainment, don't do this at home, kids. So fine.
Disclaimer.
Yeah, disclaimer. For entertainment purposes only, So, it's money-making purposes only,
Stephen A. Smith blasted the wave of mismatched exhibition fights like Paul versus Tyson, calling them disappointing and bad for boxing. He urged Jake Paul to face real, active fighters instead of aging stars, though he acknowledged Paul's promotional skills and ability to draw attention. Smith also defended Gervonta Davis after his controversial draw with Lamont Roach, praising his composure and readiness for a rematch as proof of true championship confidence.
Is a professional. At some point in time, I don't give a damn if it's a light heavyweight. Better BF, Bivol, a super middleweight, Canelo, Mexican Monster, David Benavidez, somebody that actually has a reputation. The time has come for Jake Paul to step into the ring with a cat who actually boxes for a living and give us that fight. I appreciate the fact of him promoting. I appreciate him having the cachet as a former YouTuber turned boxer. I like Jake Paul. I respect Jake Paul. I'm just saying, because I like him and because I respect him, I want to see him in the ring. And I don't want to hear, I know his numbers are better, but then he's going to say, I don't need Canelo. Canelo needs me. Well, wait a minute. It ain't just about...
Stephen A. Smith ranked Davis among the world's top 3 boxers, praising his power, skill, and knockout ability. He argued that Tank, a proven world champion, facing Jake Paul, a YouTuber with limited boxing experience, could hurt his reputation. Smith called the matchup far beneath Davis's level and said Tank should feel embarrassed for accepting it.